you, Senator Hanson-Young. Senator McKenzie, you have the call.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr Mason.
Good afternoon, Senator McKenzie.
Good to have you here. I've just got a couple of questions about a project that Screen Australia supported in its production, a documentary entitled Fight for Planet A, Our Climate Challenge. You title that as a documentary. I'd like to understand your definition of a documentary, and I'd also like to get a figure on the support Screen Australia provided to the production of this series.
So, Senator, as you're probably aware, we invest in many documentaries in a year. I think
yes,
last year we would have been in 64 or 65, I would think. We normally come in and we back production companies to make that once they're in, they have a distribution partner on board. We look at a range of things. A documentary can be going as far as just a factual representation of something through to very education heavy. So it's a variety of things that we would do on that, Senator.
Mr Mason, when you define, and you've spoken about the range of the types of documentaries from a very factual, objective piece to things that are educative, I would assume, though, that as a former educator and a lecturer of future educators, that both of those types of documentary you'd expect to be balanced.
We look for people to make things which are going to inform and shine lights on things.
Right.
So again, and those people, Senator, obviously the production company behind that, I would, from memory, they had done the project War on Waste, which had operated in a particular way to drive an audience, get an audience attention.
Yeah. So my second part of that question was how much did they receive to produce this series?
I would have to take that on notice unless, Mr Brearley, you have that to hand.
Yes, it was $625,000.
$625,000. Thank you. So did that include development and production support or simply production support?
That was production support.
Right. Given the amount of money, what sort of running over ruler does Screen Australia do in terms of to check the integrity of the documentaries you support?
Normally, Senator, again, we come into projects when they come into us with outlines, particular documentary, which, as you would know, it isn't like a screenplay for a narrative feature or TV show where you do everything.
Yes.
So we would just look at the team involved, we'd look at the commissioning partner, and then we would take a view on that from a synopsis level. We use assessors, internal and external, and then we take a funding decision.
And it would be your assessment that this was done with respect to this particular program?
Absolutely, Senator.
Any marketing support provided?
No, Senator.
Okay. And there's no obligation to check for balance, given that it's a documentary, it's not an entertainment piece, it's titled a documentary.
No, we would, again, Senator, we would normally rely on the partners that are making the show and the distribution platform for that.
Thank you. So was it the producers, the production company that you funded and the developers that actually claimed this was a documentary to Screen Australia, or is it a title or that you bestowed on this project?
No, it comes in through our documentary.
Great. So they've called it a documentary. Yep, got it. Would Screen Australia considering providing support to the beef or agriculture industries or the mining industries as a right of reply to this series?
I mean, it's interesting, Senator, just as an FYI, there's a new series we have going at the moment called Outback Ringers, which is set on the top end, looking at the unique skills of bull catchers. I know we are funding an online series called Mining Boom, which is by miners for miners, which I know has had about 4.5 million views on YouTube and
Great.
6.7 million views on Facebook.
Thank you.
So we operate across a range of things.
I appreciate that. As you would already be aware, the ABC has received a complaint from the red meat industry that they've been completely misrepresented, and indeed the show's misleading in the message it purports to get out, particularly the land clearing segment on the Fight for Planet A, Our Climate Challenge. In the Screen Australia blurb on this particular, in your screen guide section, this series, and I quote, will show Australians what they need to be asking for from their politicians. This program will, and I quote, place pressure on people who are standing in the way of change. So my question to you, Mr Mason, is the red meat industry of Australia standing in the way of change?
I would not characterise that, Senator, as a view that we at Screen Australia hold.
Well, it's off your website, sir. So if it's not a view that you hold, and the industry itself has made a complaint saying this program has misled viewers on the red meat industry's role in land clearing and the like, then essentially Screen Australia is again misleading, saying that these programs are wanting to place pressure on people standing in the way of the change, and one of those groups of people standing in the way of change is the red meat industry. What about Australian families who eat red meat, who support our primary producers in sustainable beef production? Are they standing in the way of change on carbon emissions by eating and purchasing that product?
I think, Senator, what we were looking at is the program as a whole and the project as a whole and everything else it was trying to do. But I take your point, and we're more than happy to reflect the wording, which I understand also you have asked the ABC about. So as our the distribution partner on this, we're more than happy to look at how we can reflect that.
Thank you, Mr Mason. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure the red meat industry will too. I guess going back to the process you outlined earlier around how decisions of funding are made by Screen Australia, someone comes to you, it's a tried and trusted production company, you know their work, you've seen it before, etc. Maybe could I humbly request that Screen Australia consider some other processes before awarding funding to check that documentaries don't actually end up misleading people and denigrating entire industries and communities, which I'm sure is not the intent of Screen Australia's decision on funding.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Chair.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you very